This is the 40 Thrive Podcast, episode 10.
You're listening to the 40 Thrive Podcast, the show created for women 40 and beyond, ready to shake things up. Get exclusive access to expert advice, support, and strategies that will inspire, motivate, and give you the tools to not just survive, but thrive. And now, your host, Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to the 40 Thrive Podcast. I'm your host, Jackie McDougall. Now, before we get started with our guest today, I invite you to head on over to 40thrive.com and download our 10 tips to start thriving today. There are some bite-sized nuggets in there that will help you get thriving and keep thriving. That's 40thrive.com to get your 10 tips to start thriving today. So on today's episode, we have the sparkling and delightful Leigh Koechner. So a few years ago, I was co-hosting another podcast called Broadscast, along with my friend and co-host Kim Goldman. We would tackle current events, pop culture, all of those things, but with that broad lens. And one of the women we met through that project was Leigh Koechner. Leigh is a powerhouse. She's a mom of 5. She's married to an actor. She went back to college just a few years ago to get a degree and now is kicking some serious butt with it. I'm excited to have her on. She's a speaker, a parenting expert. She's got a master's in spiritual psychology, which she'll tell us a little bit about, and she's a spiritual teacher. Leigh inspires others by being unapologetically who she is. With an open mind and heart, Leigh's ballsy, vulnerable, and funny as hell. She's committed to being of service by shining her light and sharing her story. Today, Leigh is going to share some insight on the voices in our head telling us that we suck, because we all have those, and some tips to really owning your own stuff and being able to be empowered and move forward in a whole new way. Let's get right to it. Leigh Koechner, welcome to the 40 Thrive Podcast.
By golly, thank you for having me. I'm tickled.
I love that you have brought the word tickled back. I read it in your bio and in your event coming up that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But tell me, has tickled always been part of your vernacular?
What a wonderful question. I don't think so. But I can't even remember when I first heard it, but something about it that tickled that just brings glee and happiness and silliness and playfulness and childlike behavior, which are all things that I am. And pink is such a happy color. So together, I think that it's just amazing. I love tickled pink. And sometimes I don't even know it comes out of my mouth until someone like you says, tickled pink.
Right. I think it's one of those things that you're not supposed to say before you're 70. No, I'm just kidding. But
I am 70.
Well, you look amazing.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
That actually leads me to the fact that you are almost 53 years old, correct?
Correct. I turned 53 on March 14.
Excellent. And right after your amazing event that you are going to be having.
Can't wait.
But, some people say there's a whole phrase, that's been around the block a couple times, that life begins at 40. And when I look at someone like you, while there may have been a lot of life before 40, you have blown it wide open in the last 13 years.
Yeah.
You have 5 kids. Were 3 of them actually born after you turned 40?
Well, wow. You are good with math.
I did my research, girl.
I know my youngest came when I was 45. And the other ones, 40 were the other ones. Yeah. Three came then and 2 in my 30s.
So while, some people are wrapping up, especially those who've had children before, you were kind of just getting started. I mean, you had more than half your family then.
Hey, I had a lot of running around, making out, partying, and traveling to do before I met my husband at 30.
I may or may not relate very strongly to that statement. It's so funny because some people are like, one person for the rest of your life. I'm like, I'm tired. I need just one person for the rest of my life. But
yeah, I do think about the people who say I married my junior high sweetheart, and I'm like, holy Toledo. Nothing else has gone into any of your beautiful holes? What on earth? I guess that's beautiful.
And that works
if it
for many.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have
That's
a
beautiful.
sibling who's been together with her husband My sister's been together with her husband since they were 15. And they are one of those like couple goals type of couples. They have grown in the right ways together, and they have a lot of fun together. They do, they're adventurous together. I love it.
And that sounds like they got that blessing from God when they were young. And I think I had to get a lot of other learning and blessings before I got to get there. I think some of us have more work to do before we allow ourselves to have that kind of connected love.
I agree. And I think that one of the things I'm most grateful for was that I didn't just jump on board thinking I should have been younger and just grabbing onto someone who may or may not have fit the suit, so to speak, and actually waited until it was right for me. Because I was in my 30s as well when I got married.
That's what I was going to ask, how old you were.
Yeah, I was 31 when we got married. And, I would have never imagined in my life that he would be the guy I'd marry. I knew him, but he was just never on the radar. That's a whole other podcast, Leigh.
I'm interested in that podcast.
So let's talk about this. So not only your family changed a lot after turning 40, but you went back to school. You kind of reinvented yourself in a way.
When I was dating my husband, I used to say to him, I was working in post-production. I was a post-production supervisor, and boy, did I hate it. Not that I hated that business, but I hated being in an office, and I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I would hide under my desk when my boss came, or I would just all kinds of crazy shenanigans when I was working, and every day I'd come in and I'd go, you guys, are we all still here? Is this really what happens? We're going to sit in this room for the next 45 years until we die? Is anyone else suffocating? And I felt that way. So when I met my husband, I said, David, all I want to do is be a stay-at-home mom. That's all I want to do. When we have kids, could I stay home? And he said, yes. If I'm an actor, if I have a job, then yes. And I had a baby. He had a job. I stayed home. And 3 weeks in, I was like, what in the hell have I done? I'm bored to tears. Now what? So I've always had this sense of what's next? What is next for me to explore? And I think that's kind of how I lived my life. So as things come up, as I'm approached with new people or new situations or new heartaches, and I always say, God, what am I to learn from this? Guide me and use me. And really miraculous things have happened from that thinking. And one of them was going back to the University of Santa Monica to get my master's in spiritual psychology.
I didn't even know spiritual psychology is a thing.
I didn't either, but here's how I found out, if you will. I was pitching shows to Hollywood, reality shows, like a chicken with my head cut off. And I remember I was all over the place all the time trying to figure out what I want to do, hustle. But I didn't quite know what the hell I was hustling for, but I was just trying to do something. And I pitched a show called Absolutely about a housewife in Hollywood trying to make it in the big in town, whatever. And it was kind of funny and quirky. But it went to, I don't know if it was TLC or Bravo, but it went to the first level, to the second level, and then it was going to the head guy making a decision if they were going to buy the pilot. And I remember waiting, and I had this panic going, oh my gosh, I don't even care about this. This isn't what I want to be known for. This isn't my heart. And then I thought, they passed on the show, and I was so relieved, and I thought, who am I? Why am I on this planet? And about 2 days later, out of the blue, which I always think is dropped directly from God, I got a Facebook message from a gal, and she said, I'm a life coach. I pick one person a year to give a free 2-hour session to who I find inspirational. I would like to give you a session. Well, I said, hell yes, as I do most things. But then when I was driving over to meet with her, I thought, what is this blonde, bombshell, beauty queen, actress, single gal, 30, gonna teach me, married with 5 kids? How in the heck is she gonna life coach me? And I walked into the room, sat down, and she said, can I bring in the light? And I didn't know what the hell that meant exactly, but I said yes. And she said the most beautiful prayer. And I said, you just spoke the language of my soul times 1,000. Where the hell did you learn to talk like that? And she said, I went to the University of Santa Monica. And I said, okay, so you have a degree. You didn't just pull that out of your ass. She goes, no, I didn't just pull that out of my ass. So then we kept talking, and she goes, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I know one day I'm going to have my own television show. like that Ayanla Van Zant lady on Oprah Winfrey's network who kind of gets in people's faces and yells at them to transform them. But I want to do it with connecting laughter and joy. And she was, oh, how funny. She graduated from our program at the University of Santa Monica. And I was like, wow, that's weird. Towards the end of the 2 hours, I could tell that she was going to try and get me to be her client, her life coaching client. And I go, God, I do not feel this at all with her. I'm not feeling called to this, but if that's why I'm here, remove this block and I'll do it. And then she said, you know, I brought you here to be a client, but I think you're supposed to go to the University of Santa Monica. And my body lit up. And I walked out, called the place. They were doing their makeup class 3 days later for the whole year. And I got all my paperwork in. I didn't even know that I had a degree, but you had to have one. But I found it at Kansas State University and had it sent over. And I started their program, and I went in with 2 questions. Who am I and why am I here? And at the end of the 2 years, I got my answers, and it has set me on a whole new course of my life.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. And can we, for a half a second, give that life coach a lot of credit? Because there are a lot of people out there who would be looking for that sale and trying to teach you what she learned in Santa Monica or at Santa Monica College. Or the University of Santa Monica. I'm just
or make money on what she learned, right?
Yeah, and make some money, you know, coaching you in that direction. That would have been a very easy sale for her with a little bit of, you know, just a little bit of time with you. I think she would have made the sale. But instead, she truly thought about what you needed and led you in that direction, which clearly is what you needed.
Yeah, it's magical like that. And I think that the cool thing about that too is she did go to USM and she is kind of in line with what she's supposed to be doing. And once you get in line, you actually provide the information that the people need instead of what your human brain wants. And it's way more powerful. So she gave her gift to me as it came to her, right? Instead of withholding and doing it her way, she stayed in line and true to her purpose, which was really beautiful. And, you know, come full circle, my husband now does some coaching with her, so I gifted her back my husband, who's paying her nicely for it.
I love that. That's great. That's such a great story. So if there are women out there who are maybe struggling with those 2 questions, who are they and what is their purpose or why are they here? How are there steps that you now know that you teach people to find those answers?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked that. You know, sometimes I share with people that I found those 2 things out, and then they go, that's great, and move right on. And I'm like, oh, but wait, that's the most powerful information. So I love so much that you brought it back to that, because it's so important that you heard that, you know, and that you're bringing it up for other people to hear. And here's something beautiful. The first one, the first knowing that I got from taking the time at that school was that I am a beautiful, bright light temporarily housed in my earth suit. Now, I kind of took their philosophy and put it in my own lingo, because I do believe that we are temporarily housed in these earth suits, these bodies. Mm-hmm. They're not here for long, but our soul is forever. So we are temporarily these beautiful, brilliant, bright lights that came from the stars, housed in these bodies, only to experience humanness, only to evolve and grow and connect and love, and hopefully teach and share before we go. So I think even having that understanding that we're here to be human, we're here to screw up, we're here to be messy, we're here to hurt, but we're also here to soar. And I think that is so powerful and beautiful to know to the core of my being, because it puts everything in perspective.
And I love that as well. But I think that there are a lot of people out there who are like, that sounds all great, but I have no money, or I have family, or I have responsibilities. How am I going to figure out what my purpose is in this earth suit when everybody seems to be pulling me in all these different directions?
I think exactly what you're saying, and what you're saying is just restating how human we are, right? And how our minds go to, yeah, but. That's how we are programmed, and our brain spins over 50,000 thoughts a day, and most of those thoughts are negative. And if we're not aware of them, we're just living in this negative state, and that is how we are our own worst enemy. That is how nobody will ever be meaner to you than you are to yourself, because we have these little fists inside of our brain just punching it all day long. And we're like, why am I so tired? Why do I hurt? Why can't I get anything done? Because you're beating the crap out of yourself without even knowing it. So to pause before, like when I say, you are a beautiful, bright, brilliant light to every single person who's listening. And I'm sure it's thousands and millions because you're so amazing, Jackie. But for every single person that's listening, stop your spinning brain for a second. Stop your stories, stop your hurts, stop your responsibilities, stop what the hell you're doing actually, and come to this moment and allow yourself to accept or to receive or to hear for the first time that you are whole and perfect and brilliant and beautiful exactly how you are, exactly how God created you. And to fight with any other thought, you're creating suffering and you're creating problems for yourself. So know that, boy, I got kicked in the stomach and that hurt like hell. I'm here to be human. I feel it. I'm going to fall on the ground. I'm going to cry. I'm going to grieve. I'm going to grieve the death of my loved one. I'm going to grieve the death of my marriage. I'm going to grieve losing that job. I'm going to grieve not having the mother I wish I would have grown up with, right? Feel all your feelings and then stand up and take a breath and say, I'm here to be human, but I'm way more than that. How can I learn from this situation? And people who are struggling with money, I heard you mention that when you kind of said a bunch of things. Mm-hmm. So one thing, we're going to talk about in a little bit my workshop that's coming up, but one thing that I teach in it is that there's one word that you can kick to the curb that will change your life. And although you have not signed up yet for my workshop, I'm going to share that word with you because I think it's so simple and so important. The word hard. People say, I'm going to do this, but it's going to be so hard. Now, there is a law of science that happens that what you say, what you put out, it is met equally with the energy of the universe, the energy of God, the energy of all that is. So if you say things are hard, the universe says, oh, hard. Well, that's what they heard. And they say, let's give her, we're conspiring to support her. Let's give her things that are going to be hard to support her thought. That's how it says, literally, thoughts become things. So when people don't know what they're thinking and they're thinking bullshit thoughts, can I say bullshit?
Yes, you may.
Oh, good. I like occasional cuss words. When people are thinking bullshit thoughts, bullshit's coming. When people say it's going to be hard, it will be hard. You are speaking your thoughts into motion. You are laying your path that you're going to walk on. So I have one example. Can I keep rambling or do you want to say something? I'm sorry, I get excited.
This is amazing. You're keep going.
So I have one example of this. When I was talking earlier about all I wanted to be was a stay-at-home mom, and then I got there and there was this blob on the floor, not talking and just eating and pooping. And I was like, I'm bored to tears. What was I thinking? This is all I wanted. And that's what I was thinking. And then I thought, I'm going to start writing. I'm going to write a one-woman show. Now, literally, that had never popped in my brain, but it popped in, so I started typing. And my husband walked in, who's an actor and had been in the business 20 years, and he says, what are you doing? Oh, come watch the show with me, Leigh. And I said, no, I'm writing. He's like, what are you writing? I go, one-woman show. He goes, who are you? You told me you just wanted to get married, stay at home, be a stay-at-home mom, and now all of a sudden you're writing a one-woman show? And I said, yeah, I thought that too until I got here. Now I'm bored to tears, and I'm going to write. So anyway, he said, and I said, not only am I going to write, but I'm going to write a one-woman show. And back then, Oprah Winfrey's new network was called the Oxygen Network. So I said, I'm going to write a one-woman show. I'm going to do it for the Oxygen Network, and I'm going to get a development deal. And he belly laughed, and then he got serious, and he goes, it doesn't work that way. I have been doing this for 20 years, Leigh, and I've been working my ass off, and I've been paying my dues. You can't just write a show and do that. And I just looked at him, and I thought, and I go, I said, well, I'm going to write every night from 8 to 9 p.m. And you have two options. You can support me or you can say nothing. But that's all I ask of you. And I wrote every night for 1 hour. And after I was done, I had like 1,000 pages and I gave it to my husband and he read it. And he goes, this is a really great neurotic 3-hour miniseries. You need to think what your through line is. Cut everything out that doesn't move it forward and bring it back to me. And I did. And he goes, wow, this is a really good story. I ended up putting it up at the Hollywood. It was called the Improv Olympic in Hollywood. And I did it on stage for a live audience. And then a guy came up after the show and said to me, would you please come perform this at the HBO Workspace? And I said, I'd love to. And I did it there. And then a man came up and said, I'm producing 5 one-person shows for a network. Would this please be one of them? And I said, absolutely, it will. What network? And he said, the Oxygen Network. So wow. I ended up shooting it for the Oxygen Network on a stage with a live audience and 5 cameras. The first thing I ever did. And then I got a development meeting with a gal named Lisa Harrison from Paramount. I didn't get a development deal, but everything that I said I was going to do with a clear game plan, with grace and ease, with allowing no negative thoughts or being sidelined or pulled from a party, pulled from a good TV show. If my kid cried during that hour, I passed him to my husband with a bottle. Nothing, no matter what. I sat down and did it, and I just did it, and I got exactly what I wanted. Had I listened to my husband that it was hard, I would have stopped. Had I listened to my husband that that's not how you did it, you had to put in your blood and tears and work hard, I would have maybe taken years to do it. So my point is, what you believe is what becomes, what you think is what your reality is. So taking the word hard out is such a gift to give yourself. Every time you go, oh, this is going to be hard, stop yourself and go, this is going to be easy. I'm going to do it with grace and ease. And right. Are there going to be bumps? Hell yes. Am I going to feel them? Yes. Am I going to fall down and cry? No, I'm going to say no matter what, I'm moving forward.
But what's amazing here, Leigh, is that a lot of people, I think, can relate to the fact that, you know, the husband or the outside influences kind of tell you that's not how things are done, and you keep moving forward. Sometimes the most success I've found is when people tell me something can't be done. You know, it's like, watch me. But what about the voice in your own head? Do you not have that? The one that tells you that you suck and that Oprah will never pay attention to you, and who are you to write something when you've never written? I mean, are you absent? Is that voice like not in your head? Oh my
gracious. I'm just sighing because that voice had crippled me for 30 years. Actually, no, that voice crippled me. When I went to the University of Santa Monica, we had to think of a second-year project, and I decided I was going to do a workshop. And my voice said, who the hell do you think you are to do a workshop? You don't know crap. How dare you think you're... And this voice was so big, and I thought, well, I got to pick something voice. I got to pick something for my project. So I just started writing these workshops. And then they were teaching us to ask for things even when you feel scared to, or especially when you feel scared to. And my friend, Gina Murdoch, who's this amazing woman that I know from school, who's started some really amazing things in the world already, but she said she was working with Deepak Chopra and she was going to do some stuff, this and that. And I said, hey, I'm just going to be bold and ask her. And my whole body hurt, and I thought I was going to throw up. And I just called her on the phone. Hey, Gina, it's Leigh. You know, I heard you were doing something with Deepak down at a center in Carlsbad, and I wanted to know if I could speak there. And she just started laughing, like belly laughing. And I literally almost vomited in my mouth. Yeah. It was horrific.
That's not stressful.
It was so embarrassing. And I felt like I was, you know, my boxing gloves were punching my brain, and my ego was hysterically laughing at me, and my old stories were all swirling around. And she said, you know, he hires doctors and best-selling authors. She goes, but my friend owns the really beautiful Center for Living Peace in Irvine that has a beautiful space. I could talk to her and see if you could do your workshops there. And I'll tell you what, you get what you ask for the way you're supposed to get it, you know? I took the chance. I took the risk. I put myself out there. I felt like an idiot. And she said, you're a little bit of an idiot, but I'm going to help you. And the very first time I walked into that room, it was full. There were probably 45 women in there. And I had never done anything like that before, and I was feeling so vulnerable. And the wall that used to hold my whole body down like a lead weight had crumbled down from the healing work I've been doing, and now it was just an anklet with a ball and chain. And I literally had that ball and chain, but the ball was so heavy I could barely walk. And I remember right before it was time for me to go out in front of the people, I thought, I just got to breathe. I can't remember what I'm talking about. I can't. And my body was just all crazy, and my ego was out of control, and my ball and chain was holding on so tight to keep control of my life, so tight to keep the old stories and the fear and the bullshit beating myself up so tight I couldn't breathe. And I remember going, people kept coming up to me, and I just wanted to be left alone so I could catch my breath. And then all of a sudden, this girl walked up to me and goes, Leigh, they're waiting for you. And I said, they're waiting for you. And I just turned around, dragged my ball and chain out in front of them, and I started speaking. And the words came out weird at the beginning, and I was nervous, but as I kept speaking and as I was connecting with what I was supposed to be doing, I kind of lit up. I stood up, and it flowed from me. And I watched as I was speaking that ball, that hinge around my ankle open, and literally like the whole thing go to dust and blow away. Because in the time of terror, in the time of bone-crushing judgment, in the panic of my ego to kill me for life, I did it anyway. And I never, ever have to feel that way again. Although I do get scared, and although my old stories come to try and derail me, they don't have the power that they did before I pushed through, almost going down in a plane crash. I pushed through anyway, and I was rewarded for it. So yeah, hell yeah, I still get thoughts that beat me up and sideline me, but I don't let them run wild.
Right. Because, to go back to your word, hard, what you did was hard. It was extremely difficult. But the fact is that you don't, it's interesting. Do you tell people not to use that word at all, hard, or to acknowledge that things could be hard, but to do it anyway? Or you just, how does that work?
Two things I want to say about when you said about me going anyway when it was hard. The thing I do know is when you push through the thing that scares you, you never have to push through that again in the same way, in the same intensity. So next time I get nervous to go on stage, I can go, I've done this. I know what I'm doing. Voice, you're not going to cripple me. I got myself. I'm connected
It's like
directly to power.
Right.
Oh.
It's like jumping off that high diving board. The first time is terrifying, and then you're like, oh, I survived.
And then you realize, not only did I jump, but I pointed my toes and swam with grace and ease. Next time I get up there,
if you watch the video,
not.
I don't know how grace and ease I had, but
yeah, I hear you. But the next time I get up there, I'm going to think, maybe I slapped my feet last time, but I swam fine. This time I point my toes and not slap my feet. But you won't keep me off the damn board.
Right.
And then the other part you asked me is about people. Here's what I think about the word hard. Hard is a thing to tell yourself you don't have to do it. Hard is a thing that tells yourself you can sit down. Hard is the thing that says, why bother? So if hard comes up, you can look at it, dance with it, talk to it, and then move forward anyway. I think if you go like this, while we're here, people are going to lie. While we're being human, people are going to die. While we're human, you're going to fall and scrape all of your body parts. There'll be bumps and obstacles and devastation. Know it's coming, right? We know it's coming. So let's build our toolkit. Let's build our heart. Let's build our muscles so when it comes, we can grieve, we can mourn, we can cry, and then we can stand up in our power. And I think that's where the magic is. The mess, I'm starting my own podcast next week, and I can't wait to have you on it.
Excellent.
And my workshop that I'm doing on March 7th, it's called Unleash Your Messy, Imperfect Life. We are all messy as hell. Life is messy. That's why we're here. It's not bad. It's not embarrassing. And I think the more we share it and get in the gunk of it, the more we pull out our gems and polish it and
Absolutely.
use it to be of service.
And when we're able to share that with each other, there's, especially women over 40, we become unstoppable, because sometimes when we live in it on our own, there are two things that I've discovered in my experience. And one of them is when you talk about hard, I don't necessarily think things being hard will stop everyone. Obviously, people are doing hard things every day. But it's the fact that people are surprised by life being hard that fascinates me. Because sometimes my husband and I will talk about it. Like, if you know that things are challenging and you expect challenges and it's, how you get through them, that's one thing. But if you're like blown away, oh my gosh, I got a flat tire today. And I think it's when you cannot cope with the fact that things are hard. And you can't just kind of keep things in perspective that hard becomes so overwhelming.
Well, I think here's the two, even hearing you say the word hard right now and hearing other people say the word hard, the thing that gets me about it is, why do we have to call it hard? Meaning, if we know there's going to be bumps, we say, oh, shoot, that bump, man, that hurt my stomach. That hurt my core. I feel sad. Now what will I do with it? So making it, knowing that the kick in the stomach, the fall onto your knee pain, maybe we don't have to use the word hard for it. Maybe we use the word kick in the stomach. Oh boy, it looks like I got some learning here to do. It's something where it becomes more gracious and empowering, because hard for me is like, this is going to be hard. This is going to be get my hands in dirty. This is going to be, I need to heal. This is going to be, oh man, my life is in session. What can I learn? I think hard puts another obstacle in front of the beauty of the obstacle. We don't have to even label it.
You're right.
I think hard is a label that has a negative connotation, and most people derails.
Right. Because if it's going to be hard, why bother doing it at all? When in fact, we're actually doing things that are hard every single day that we just don't have the time to stop and think about so much. I think it's when we think and think and think. I mean, how many times do you... Actually, I'm just going to skip that example because it sucks. But, you know...
You're hilarious.
But one of the things that I have seen in some of the women that I coach or talk to in the 40 Thrive community is this feeling of using struggle or hard as a badge of honor. How many times have you been to a party and you're like, oh, that was tough getting here. You know, it was raining and then I got a flat tire or whatever. And that person's like, oh, well, I, fell off a roof and broke four legs and 3 arms and blah, blah, blah. Like it's like people kind of compete over how difficult things are. And it becomes part of their identity that they're constantly moving through the world, like sharing with people how difficult things are.
As people share about their heaviness, not that they've overcome and learned and helping other people with it, but as they swim in it and then they share and invite other people to jump in, that is where they will stay. And when you talk about things like, oh my gosh, this again, the universe hears, oh, they need that again. It doesn't differentiate sarcasm or this or that. It meets you with what your thoughts are. So, yeah, I was working with a lady recently when I do some life coaching as well, and I would give her a tool, and she'd call me back and be like, oh, yeah, but then this happened and this happened, and I just threw away all the plans that you told me to do because I said to her, I'm really hearing that you want to stay in misery. I'm really hearing you're not ready or committed to do the work, and I am here when you are, and I support you, and I will pray for you, but when you are ready to commit, I just signed up for this class that I'm taking that's really a beautiful, powerful class about kind of science of our mind and our thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really neat class, but he was talking about charging. Somebody was charging for something, and this woman charged a lot of money for what she had to offer. And somebody came up and said, well, that's not very fair, all the people that you're excluding and blah, blah, blah. And, you should give half price. You should give free class. You should do this. You should do that. And the woman said, the people who can afford to come are the people who are in the energy level to accept what I'm giving. Meaning, when you're down in the dumps, when you're broke, when things are bad, you're swimming in that energy level and you're attracting more of it. As you rise, you attract more abundance, different friends, more open doors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she was like, that's the kind of people I want here. So I just thought that was an interesting kind of example. How you show up is how you will be treated. We tell people how to treat us. You're complaining all the time. You're going to have a shitload of friends who complain, and you guys are going to swim over in the murky lake of cold water. I want to be in a hot tub sipping on champagne.
I will join you.
Only if it's really clean and good champagne.
Yeah, well, duh. Clearly. So I wanted to ask you though, so a lot of people would, especially with 5 kids and a busy life and, a husband who travels or is working or not working, and, it's, you have a lot going on in your home, and then you go off to college and you complete that, which is amazing in itself. But then I have seen a lot of people who then would take that degree and then do nothing with it. And so that's not you. So tell me, you've taken this degree and you've turned it into this coaching career. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, the first thing you said about people getting things and not doing anything with it, I'm in a mastermind and the guy offers unlimited phone calls. And he told me probably out of 500 people, 3 people use it. People, a lot of times we're stagnant and we learn something and then we go home and we repeat the same stuff, or the same thought comes that it's hard, why bother? It's not going to work anyway, right? We throw in the towel. But as I told you, something in me is a seeker and a learner and a teacher. And that's what excites me and lights me up. And that's just how I was wired and how I'm built. And my mother was mentally ill and stayed in bed. And she used to say, all the other kids would listen and stay out of my room except you, Leigh. Every day you would run in and say, Mother, what do we got today? What are we doing? And she'd be like, get out. Who are you? Where does this energy come from? Stop. And I think I was just born that way. I was just born, what the hell can I do now? What can I experience? What fun can I have? And I told you earlier, I'm very childlike, like I'm goofy. And the other day I farted and I laughed so hard. And I do a morning fart in my kitchen. Like I'll hold it and then wait till most of my kids are in there and I'll go, oh my gosh, you guys aren't going to believe what today is. And they all go, what? And I go, pfft. And then I belly laugh.
My children would like to be in your home.
I can't get over it. And the other day I came out of a store with my son and we were talking and I ripped a fart and I started laughing. And I said, son, what is wrong with me? I said, I'm 52 and farting to me every day. It's like I just opened a Christmas present. Why does it bring me so much joy? And he said, I guess just because you're strange like that. And I thought, I'm strange like that. I am strange and I am childlike and I do find laughter in almost everything, even not while it hurts, but after. I can find humor in it. And I think it's a gift I'm giving my kids. Don't take this stuff so seriously. We're not here that long. Have fun.
Right. And none of us get out of here alive.
That's one thing we all got in common.
Right. And so through this coaching, I love that you are so different and you lean into your superpowers and your sense of humor and your personality. And, you've coined terms throughout your coaching. I see on your website, I see during your free 33-day programs that you have on Facebook, but you coined the term OWNERSH T. What does that mean?
Boy, I love that. It's literally owning your shit. And I think it's one of the most empowering gifts we can give ourselves, because the moment our fingers are pointing and we're blaming that guy for making me mad, we're blaming our parents for not setting us up for success, or we're blaming our spouse for not having a great relationship, or our kids for not talking respectful. Every time I point my finger, I turn it around and bring it to my heart. And usually I have to open my palm and put my hand on my heart and tell myself, I've got you, you're okay. Or my younger self who didn't have her needs met, who's still kicking and screaming inside of my body, I got you, you're okay. Because we are 100% responsible for our lives. We have 100% responsible for where we are in life. And the minute you get that, the minute you own it, and the minute you equate that to your shit, to the good stuff, right? You can celebrate the good stuff you've done, but look at the shit. Own your shit. You created it. And it's 100% like this. If you're in a marriage that sucks, or somebody who's treating you poorly and you blame it on the other person, you actually attracted that other person. How you were feeling, how you showed up attracted the guy or girl who would treat you like shit because you feel like shit. So they're matching your energy and giving you back what you're giving them. They're reflecting or mirroring, and then you're projecting at them that they're bad. So it's interesting to have ownership of your shit. and all of your life. It's empowering because then and only then can you stand up and make a new choice, make a new decision, walk a new path. And then and only then can you change your life. And it's literally one thought at a time. One thought.
You make it sound so easy. And that's what I love about it because, you know, if you look at a mountain and how tall it is and how steep it is and how many steps it's going to take and all of that, it can be so overwhelming. But when you just take one step at a time, the next thing you know, you're up there taking a selfie with your family. You know, I mean, it's
100%. And I just like this. I've been saying this today. It just came to me earlier, but no matter what, I like that no matter what, because it's, wow, there's the mountain. I've made the decision to either push my way through with my fist or walk over it gracefully. However the heck, I've made a decision to get through that to the other side. So I'm not going to sit down and I'm not going to wring my hands how hard it's going to be, right? I'm going to make a game plan really clear and I'm going to follow my game plan. And I know when I do, I'll get to the other side. It's the same as if anything you want to do, you want to write a book, you want to move, you want to get a new job, you want to have a better relationship. You write down at the top what you want. You write down all the little baby steps it would take to get it. And then you start walking the baby steps. And you can't help but get it. You cannot help but get it. The only way you can't get it is if you sit down or you choose it's too hard. Right. You do it no matter what. When you want something, you do it no matter what. You dedicate the time and you do it. And it doesn't have to be a lot.
Well, I find that there are many people who will see all those steps and then determine they are too much versus, or needing all the preparations to be perfect as opposed to just taking steps imperfectly.
Never be perfect.
Well, it's not possible. So I don't know why people have these expectations, including myself. I'm definitely a former perfectionist.
And perfectionism is the sexiest of the self-sabotage. It's the sexiest one. I'm so good. It's got to be so perfect. I can't start it yet. And other people are like, I feel like shit, I can't start it. They're the same. Perfectionism is bullshit. What it means is I'm not going to do what's my heart's desire because I'm afraid. And that's what all of the excuses that are in our head. Perfectionism just sounds sexy because it's about being perfect. But all of the thoughts in our head that aren't propelling us forward are not welcome. So start looking at them, start paying attention, jot them down, get familiar with them. Don't let them run you. Start going, oh, you're just a thought. I can pull you out. I can put in a new thought. I can rewrite the thought, put it in, and then I could remember that every time that thought comes up. Oh, no, buddy, I knocked you out. Right. I am worthy. I am going to do it. I am okay.
Right. And if you look around you and the thing that it is that one wants to do, whether, like you had mentioned, write a book or climb a mountain or any sort of thing that may take a little bit of preparation and then a little bit of work to get there, the only people who are ahead of you, or not the only people, but the people who are ahead of you, so published authors or hikers or whatever, they're not necessarily smarter, stronger, have more hours in the day, any of that. They weren't given more. They just stayed the course. They made a decision to get started and they stayed the course. It's really that simple.
That's
it.
And
so I love that you are out there teaching people and leading by example what happens when you don't allow those voices to keep you from moving forward.
The only difference between the best-selling author and your idea is they did it.
Yep, 100%. So tell me, let's talk about this workshop, the Unleash Your Messy and Perfect Life workshop happening March 7th from 9 to 5 in Studio City.
At the Sportsman's Lodge.
At the Sportsman's Lodge.
Which has a lovely bar after where we will be having a celebratory cocktail. And the next day, maybe even laying by the pool if you fly in for it.
Excellent. So what would one expect by attending your workshop?
So I have a 10-step program. One is that we'll be identifying your limiting belief or beliefs. I believe everyone has one that was created in their childhood that is usually something like, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable. And we place that on top of our heads, our little pebble, and eventually it sinks into the center of our brain. And everything that we see or hear gets filtered through that pebble. So mine was, I'm unworthy. So everything I saw said, you're not worthy. Nothing mattered. And that's how I saw the world. And until I identified it and removed it, could I be free to be all of who I am? So I help people identify their pebble, replace it with a new polished pebble. We'll talk about the 2 things that matter, the 2 most important things, screw the rest. Step 4 is 1 word to kick to the curb, which we talked about today, which was hard. Number 5 is coming home. It's coming home. It's literally closing your eyes and putting your hands over your heart and realizing inside of there is everything you need for your entire life, every answer, every support, every next step. And when we can quiet our crazy brains and practice some self-care, we can have direct access to God that resides within us because we're all made in the likeness of God. Every religion says it. Step 6 is mindfulness and martinis. And it's about the magic of mindfulness and helping people experience it and how simple it is. You don't have to savor a raisin to get the magic of mindfulness. And I talk a little bit about martinis as well because I do like to drink them. I like to do high kicks. I like to do the splits. As I've gotten into the spiritual world, a lot of people don't do that. They get so spiritual that they whisper and you can barely hear what they're saying sometime with Eckhart Tolle or Deepak Chopra or some of the greats. But I realized I'm bringing all of me to what I do. I'm bringing my cuss words, I'm bringing my martinis, and that I don't have to change a thing. I'm ready exactly how I am to give the wisdom of my heart. And that's kind of unleashing who you are, where you are, that we'll be talking about. Number 7 is ownership, which we talked about, is helping people pinpoint the shit and how they can shift it and to own it. And it's a gift to give yourself, nothing to beat yourself up over. Mm-hmm. And then something I love is called FIG and GIG, find your gift and give your gift. And I think that's why we're on the planet. And when we can find why we're here and be in line and share it to make a difference in the world, it's literally heaven on earth. It's why we're here. Number 9 is called partner with power, that there's a higher, this grand connective energy source that runs through all of us, that's in everything, and God and universe and everything. And we have direct access to it. How to partner with power in all that you do. So you show up as your most powerful self, not just your human brain puny self. And finally, number 10 is called just serve. And I think that when we are in service, there is nothing more beautiful. And when you're in a funk and you do something for someone else, I just went through the hardest year of my life last year. And I do these 33-day programs. And somebody told me, I said, hey, I'm postponing this program because, I'm going through a hard time. And I coiled up in my bed and that just fed me to go deeper into the dark hole. And I said, what the hell am I doing? And I stood up about a week later and I said, I'm doing my 33-day program. And as I gave of my heart and as I shared my messages, I was healing myself. I was giving myself fuel of doing what I loved. So being of service, there is nothing more beautiful to make a difference in the world, and it makes a difference in yourself. And as you give, you get. So those are my 10 steps, and we'll be doing it from 9 to 5 in Studio City, California. And I just know that the women who have signed up so far, and I'm so open to men as well because we all are connected. And the women who signed up so far are just powerful, amazing women. And it's going to be something where we're going to belly laugh, we're going to cry. You're going to get tangible tools, and you're going to connect with a community of like-minded women. And it's going to be a powerful day. And by golly, I know that when I give, I get, and I can't wait to see what I get from it as well.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. So what would you say to that woman who is listening right now? And she's like, oh, I need this so much, but she's terrified to take the plunge.
Oh, I'd say thank that emotion. Say thank you to that feeling in your body. Say thank you to that story in your mind. And then tell it something new. I am more than you. You're just a small part of me. I am a child of God. I have the power of 1,000 stars. And I'm going to take the jump. And I'm going to be vulnerable. And I will greatly be rewarded for it. And I welcome her. And I welcome people who don't really think they have anything to work on as well, because that's why we're here. We're always here to learn and push ourselves and go outside of our comfort zone. And I will make everyone do that.
Are there really people who don't think they have something to work on? I haven't met them.
Well, some people are like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, you need to come to 2 of them. It's like Deepak Chopra says, when people say, I don't have time to meditate, he says everyone should meditate once a day. And for the people who say, I don't have time, they should do it twice.
Right. Yes, I heard something like that. It's so funny because it's when your mind is the most craziest that you need it the most.
Yeah.
Well, I am excited for this workshop and everything that you are doing. And if you are a 40 Thrive listener, Leigh has been so generous to also offer a free 30-minute call with her. What does that look like, Leigh?
Yeah, so they will email my assistant, Alicia. She will schedule it, and then you can bring to the table whatever is heavy on your heart. If you want to hear about my workshop, if you have a question, if you have something that you're navigating and you don't know next steps, if you feel so in despair, you just need to know how to breathe. Whatever it is, I'm welcome to talk to you for 30 minutes on me, and would be happy to connect. And you can also go check me out at my website, which is my name. It's just www.Leigh, and you spell it Leigh.la. And on there, you talked earlier about my 33-day programs. If you click the number 33, you can find my program, OWNERSH T, Fig and Gig, Coming Home. I have 7 programs for free for you to go day by day and fill yourself.
That's great. They can get a little taste of Leigh before they head on over to the workshop on March 7th.
You can get a lot of taste of Leigh.
Hey, so before we go, one thing I ask all of my guests, what does it mean to you to 40 Thrive?
It means to me to 40 Thrive to open my mind and heart, to welcome all of it, all of life, to be in gratitude, and to move powerfully as an agent of love.
That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Leigh Koechner.
I love you, Jackie.
I love chatting with you anytime.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And your butt must be in a seat at my workshop. I need your loving energy. Woo!
Excellent. I'll be there.
40 Thrivers, you will see Jackie in person and get a little nugget as well. So I look forward to seeing you all.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, we are a win-win, sister.
Thanks so much for listening. To get more information on Leigh's workshop or your free 30-minute consultation, head on over to 40thrive.com/10. That's 40thrive.com/10. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because when you do, the podcast will automatically show up in your favorite podcast app, and you have one less thing to do on your to-do list. If you have someone in your life you feel would benefit from this podcast episode, please share it with her. It could be just the thing to get her to start thriving. Thanks so much for listening. Take care and keep thriving.
Spring has sprung, and with the change of seasons, sometimes comes an increase in vitality. If you're feeling in the mood for a little more personal time, may I suggest Koechner. Koechner is all about providing clean and natural ingredients when you're enjoying your most intimate moments, with or without a partner. Naturally safe products developed by people who are obsessed with quality. Get 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Koechner. That's 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Koechner.